The year was 2387. Earth had grown beyond its single-world home. Humans now lived on dozens of planets across the galaxy. Ships traveled between stars like old boats once crossed oceans. The United Colonial Defense Force watched over all human worlds from their command centers scattered across space. Captain Lee Taemin stood in the control room of Monitoring Station Vigilant Dawn. The station floated in the dark void between star systems. Its job was simple but vital. Listen for danger. Watch for threats. Keep humanity safe. Lee had been doing this job for 12 years. Every day was the same. Cosmic radiation created background noise. Sometimes old Earth broadcasts reached their senses years late. Most days brought nothing but silence from the endless black dot. Today felt different. The main console started beeping, not the usual slow beep of routine signals. This was fast and urgent. Lee moved quickly to the communication station. His fingers danced across the controls with practiced skill. "What do we have?" Lee asked his crew. Lieutenant Park Sojin looked up from her station. Her face showed confusion and excitement. "Sir, this is unlike anything in our database. The signal is coming from outside known space. It appears to be some kind of distress call." Lee felt his heart speed up. In 12 years of monitoring deep space, he had never received a genuine alien transmission. Earth had been searching for other intelligent life since humans first looked up at the stars. Now something was reaching out to them. "Put it through." The main speakers, Lee ordered. Static filled the control room. Then came sounds that were clearly not human. The voice was high and musical but filled with desperation. Words came through in broken pieces mixed with Universal Standard. Universal Standard was the common language used by Earth colonies for communication. Dr. Park Min-ho was the station's language expert. He worked frantically at his console trying to make sense of the transmission. His programs compared the alien words to known language patterns. Slowly a translation began to appear on his screen. Captain Dr. Park said with a shaking voice, "I think I understand what they are saying." The transmission became clearer as the translation program improved. The musical voice was pleading for help. It spoke of something called the Swarm, a terrible enemy that consumed entire worlds. The speaker called their people the Veltari. "Please." The translated voice said, "We know of the Deathworlders. The legends speak of warriors from the world of endless war. We beg the humans to hear our call. Our system falls to the Swarm. We are the last." Lee felt cold shock run through his body. These aliens knew about Earth. They called humans Deathworlders and warriors. Somehow these distant beings had heard legends about humanity's warlike nature. The transmission continued with more desperate pleas. The Veltari described their peaceful civilization. They were farmers and artists. They had no weapons capable of fighting the Swarm. Their allies had already fallen. Their worlds were being consumed. "The Swarm takes everything living," the voice continued. "They turn our people into more of themselves. Soon there will be nothing left of our kind. If the Deathworlder legends are true, please help us. Save what remains of our people." Dr. Park worked to trace the signal's origin. His instruments showed the transmission came from a star system 47 light-years away. The system was called Velta in the alien language. Suddenly the transmission changed. Background noise increased. The musical voice became more urgent and frightened. Explosions could be heard in the distance. The alien was running. "They have found our hiding place," the voice said. "This may be our final transmission. Remember us, Deathworlders. Remember the Veltari who believed in your legend." The signal cut to static, then silence. Lee stared at the empty display screen. His crew looked at him with wide eyes. They had just heard the death cry of an alien civilization. More importantly, they had learned that humanity's reputation as warriors had somehow spread across the galaxy. "Sir, what are our orders?" Lieutenant Park asked quietly. Lee thought carefully. This was the most important decision of his career. Maybe the most important decision any human had ever made. First contact with alien life had come in the form of a desperate plea for help. "Send an emergency transmission to Earth." Command Lee ordered. "Priority Alpha clearance. Inform them we have received an alien distress call. The species knows about humanity and specifically requested our help." He paused and looked around the control room. "Also tell them these aliens see us as legendary warriors. They call us Deathworlders." While his crew prepared the transmission, Lee studied the data from the alien signal. Long-range sensors had detected massive energy signatures from the Vel system, explosions on a planetary scale. The signatures matched what humans would expect from orbital bombardment. An entire star system was dying while he watched. The transmission to Earth would take hours to reach the homeworld. Then Earth's leaders would need time to decide how to respond. The Veltari had called humans their last hope. But would humanity answer that call? Lee had studied military history. He knew humans were indeed warriors. Earth's history was filled with conflict and war. Humans had developed weapons and tactics that could destroy worlds. They had learned to fight in every environment from desert heat to Arctic cold. But humans had also learned to protect the innocent, to stand against bullies and tyrants. The Veltari sounded like gentle people who had never hurt anyone. The Swarm, it sounded like monsters who consumed everything in their path. Lee made his decision. He would recommend immediate military action. Humanity had the ships and weapons to fight this swarm. More importantly, humanity had the will to fight for others. The transmission to Earth was ready. Lee gave the order to send it. Now they could only wait and hope that Earth's leaders would make the right choice. Hours passed in tense silence. The crew monitored space around the Veltar system. The energy signatures grew stronger. Whatever a swarm was doing, they were doing it faster. Finally, Earth Command responded. Admiral Yoon-ji-hai herself was on the secure channel. Her voice was calm, but Lee could hear the excitement beneath. "Captain Lee, you have done excellent work, Admiral," Yoon said. "Your discovery changes everything. Prepare detailed reports on the alien transmission. Earth's leadership is meeting now to discuss our response." Lee felt hope growing in his chest. Earth was taking this seriously. Maybe humanity would live up to the legends the Veltari had heard. The call ended, and Lee looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien people were fighting for their lives. They had called out to humanity in their darkest hour. Soon the galaxy would learn if Earth's warriors were truly legends or just stories told in the dark. The emergency meeting room in Earth's Capitol building had never seen such tension. President Kim Dae-won sat at the head of a massive table surrounded by humanity's most powerful leaders. Military commanders sat next to scientists. Colonial governors spoke with intelligence chiefs. Everyone understood that this meeting would shape humanity's future. Admiral Yoon-ji-hai stood before a massive display screen showing the alien transmission data. Her uniform was crisp and her voice steady, but everyone could see the excitement in her eyes. This was the moment humanity had dreamed about for centuries. "The transmission is genuine," Admiral Yoon announced to the room. "Our best analysis confirms the Veltari are real. Their distress call is authentic. Most importantly, they know about us. They have heard legends that paint humanity as legendary warriors." President Kim leaned forward in his chair. He was a careful man who had led Earth through many difficult decisions. This decision felt bigger than all the others combined. "What do we know about this swarm they mentioned?" President Kim asked. Dr. Shin Hae-won stood up. She was Earth's leading expert on alien lifeforms. For years she had studied theoretical alien biology. Now she had real data to work with. "The swarm appears to be a hive mind species," Dr. Shin explained. "They consume organic matter and convert it into more of themselves. Think of them as galactic locusts. They strip worlds bare, then move to the next target." General Choi Byung-ho shook his head firmly. He commanded Earth's home defense forces, and his job was protecting the planet. "This sounds like a trap. We know nothing about galactic politics. Maybe this swarm is actually the good guys and these Veltari are criminals." Several people around the table nodded. Caution had kept humanity safe for decades. Earth's policy was simple: avoid conflicts with unknown powers, build strong defenses, stay hidden. Commander Lim So-young disagreed. She had spent years studying the data from monitoring stations like Captain Lee's. Her analysis painted a different picture. "The energy signatures from the Veltar system match our models for planetary bombardment," Commander Lim said. "Multiple worlds are being destroyed. This is not a police action or political conflict. This is extinction." She activated a holographic display showing the Veltar system. 3 planets showed no life signs. The remaining 2 were under constant attack. Massive objects moved between the worlds like predators hunting prey. "The swarm ships are enormous," Commander Lim continued. "Each one is the size of a small moon. But they appear to rely on numbers rather than advanced technology. The strategy is simple: overwhelm the enemy with countless attackers." Captain Bain-Su had been quiet during most of the meeting. He was a veteran of the Mars colonial wars where outnumbered human forces had defeated larger enemies through superior tactics and training. His weathered face showed years of combat experience. "I have fought against overwhelming odds," Captain Bay said quietly. "The key is not matching enemy numbers. The key is being better than them individually. These swarm creatures rely on mass attacks. They are using the wrong strategy against humans." Dr. Shin looked puzzled. "What do you mean, Captain?" Captain Bay smiled grimly. "Human military doctrine assumes we will always be outnumbered. Every human soldier trains to fight multiple enemies. Every human ship carries weapons designed to destroy larger targets. We built our entire military around the idea that our enemies would have more ships than us." The room fell silent as people absorbed this insight. Humanity's entire approach to warfare was based on fighting superior numbers. The swarm's strategy of mass attacks was exactly what human forces trained to defeat. Admiral Yoon brought up tactical displays showing human fleet compositions. Fast destroyers worked with heavy cruisers. Fighter squadrons supported massive dreadnoughts. Every ship type was designed to punch above its weight class. "Our antimatter torpedoes can destroy targets 50 times larger than the ships that carry them," Admiral Yoon explained. "Our plasma cannons cut through any known armor. Our electronic warfare systems can disrupt enemy communications across entire fleets." President Kim studied the displays carefully. The military advantages were clear, but the political risks remained enormous. What if we help these Veltarian anger other alien powers? We could be starting a galactic war. Sir, with respect, Commander Lim replied, we may already be in a galactic war. The swarm has destroyed multiple civilizations according to the Veltari transmission. If we do nothing, they will eventually find Earth. Foreign Minister Otajan had been reviewing diplomatic protocols. His job was managing Earth's relationships with other human colonies. Now he faced the challenge of first contact diplomacy. The Veltari specifically asked for our help, Minister O said. They know about us and chose to reach out. This could be our chance to join the galactic community as protectors rather than conquerors. General Choi remained unconvinced. We have no idea how large this swarm is. We could be sending our entire fleet to destruction. Earth would be defenseless. Earth is already defenseless against a galactic threat, Captain Bay replied firmly. Our planetary defenses mean nothing against enemies who can destroy star systems. Our only real defense is making sure such enemies never reach our system. The debate continued for hours. Some leaders wanted more information before making any decisions. Others pushed for immediate military action. The alien transmission played repeatedly as people argued about humanity's response. Dr. Park Min-ho had been refining his translation of the Veltari message. New details emerged from the alien words. The Veltari had mentioned other species that had fallen to the swarm. Artists and scholars, peaceful traders and explorers. The swarm did not discriminate. They consumed everything living. The Veltari called us their last hope, Dr. Park reported. They specifically mentioned legends about humans fighting impossible battles and winning. Somehow our reputation as warriors has spread across the galaxy. President Kim stood up and looked around the room. Every face showed the weight of the decision they faced. Help unknown aliens fight an overwhelming enemy. Risk human lives for strangers. Step onto the galactic stage as warriors. We have always wondered what humanity's purpose was among the stars, President Kim said slowly. Maybe this is our answer. Maybe we are meant to be the ones who fight when others cannot. The vote was close but clear. Earth would respond to the Veltari distress call. Admiral Yoon received authorization to assemble the largest human fleet in history. Operation Thunderstrike would carry Earth's warriors to their first galactic battle. As the meeting ended, Admiral Yoon was already making plans. 800 ships would need crews and supplies. The journey to Veltar would take 6 months using humanity's fastest drives. Time was running out for the gentle aliens who had called Earth for help, but the Deathworlders were coming. Earth's orbital shipyards had never seen such activity. Hundreds of warships floated in formation around the planet like deadly metal flowers. The largest human fleet in history was preparing for humanity's first galactic war. Every ship bristled, with weapons designed to destroy enemies much larger than themselves. Admiral Yoon Ji-hai stood on the bridge of her flagship Eternal Dawn watching the final preparations. 847 warships waited for her command. Each one represented decades of human military engineering. Each crew had trained their entire lives for battles they hoped would never come. Now those battles were 47 light years away. The fleet was organized into 3 battle groups. Each group followed different human military philosophies that had been tested in centuries of warfare. Together they represented everything humanity had learned about fighting and winning. Battle. Group Alpha floated nearest to Earth. These were the heavy hitters, massive dreadnoughts and battleships that could crack planets if needed. Admiral Park Jun-ji commanded this group from his flagship, Indomitable Will. The ship was 3 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to sterilize a continent. Alpha Group ready for departure, Admiral Park reported over the communication system. His voice carried the confidence of a man who had never lost a battle. All antimatter torpedoes armed and ready. Plasma cannon arrays at full charge. Battle. Group Beta took position on the fleet's left flank. These ships were smaller but faster. Carriers launched squadrons of fighters that moved like deadly insects around their motherships. Light cruisers and destroyers formed hunting packs designed to strike hard and disappear. Admiral Song Myeong commanded Beta Group from the carrier Stormbringer. Her ship carried 200 fighter craft and enough spare parts to keep them flying through months of combat. She had earned her rank during the asteroid belt wars where speed meant survival. Beta Group standing by Admiral Song announced, all fighter wings ready for immediate deployment. Fast attack, craft loaded and waiting. Battle Group Gamma held the right side of the formation. These ships looked different from the others. They carried massive sensor arrays and electronic warfare equipment. Their job was protection and support. They would keep enemy weapons from finding targets and enemy communications from working. Admiral Kyo Seung-min led Gamma Group from his command. Ship Eternal Vigilance. The vessel looked more like a floating city than a warship. Its hull was covered with communication dishes and sensor equipment. Hidden within were the most advanced computers humans had ever built. Gamma Group prepared for operation. Admiral Chaos said calmly. All defensive systems online. Electronic warfare packages ready for deployment. Dr. Jang Yuzhen worked frantically in the fleet's main laboratory ship. She had been studying every piece of data about the swarm that monitoring stations had collected. The enemy used biological technology that grew rather than being built. Their ships were living creatures bred for war. The swarm operates as a single mind, Dr. Zhang explained to the fleet commanders during their final briefing. Individual creatures have no independent thought. They follow orders from central command organisms like cells in a body. This information changed human tactical planning. Fighting a hive mind was different from fighting individual enemies. The swarm would never panic or retreat out of fear, but they might be vulnerable if their command structure was disrupted. Major Li Suben, who prepared her marine battalions for the unknown. Human ground forces had fought in every environment on Earth and dozens of colony worlds. They had developed weapons and armor for fighting in space stations and asteroid mines, but they had never faced alien enemies. We do not know what these swarm creatures look like, Major Li told her troops. We do not know how they fight on the ground, but we know how to adapt. We know how to survive. We know how to win. The Marines trained in mock-ups of alien ship interiors built from the Veltari transmission data, organic corridors that curved and twisted like living things, rooms that pulsed with unknown energies. Fighting inside enemy ships would be like entering the belly of massive beasts. Captain Ru Donghain commanded the scout flotilla that would reach Veltara first. His ships were the fastest in the human fleet. They carried advanced sensors and stealth technology. Their job was gathering intelligence and staying alive long enough to report back. Scout group ready for advanced deployment, Captain Ru reported. We will reach the target system 6 hours before the main fleet. Initial reconnaissance will determine enemy strength and positions. The final preparations took 3 days. Supply ships loaded every warship with ammunition and spare parts. Medical ships prepared for massive casualties. Engineering crews made final checks on engines and weapon systems. Admiral Yun received the final reports from all commanders. Every ship was ready. Every crew member understood their mission. Humanity was about to keep a promise made to dying aliens they had never met. The hyperspace jump to Veltar would take 6 months. The fleet would travel in complete communication silence to avoid detection. Long-range sensors showed the situation in the target system getting worse every day. Energy signatures indicated massive explosions and planetary bombardment. Time was running out for the Veltari. All ships prepare for hyperspace jump, Admiral Yun announced to the fleet. We go to answer the call of those who believe in legends. We go to show the galaxy that some legends are real. The space around Earth filled with swirling energy as 800 warships prepared to disappear into hyperspace. Each ship carried the hopes and fears of humanity. They were going to fight an enemy they knew almost nothing about to save people. They had never seen. Dr. Zhang made final calculations about swarm technology during the jump preparation. The enemy bioships seemed to have one major weakness. They relied completely on their hive mind for coordination. Individual creatures could not think for themselves. If we can disrupt their command structure, the entire swarm force might collapse. Dr. Zhang reported to Admiral Yun, but we need to identify and target their command organisms. This will require getting very close to enemy formations. Admiral Yun studied the tactical displays one final time. The human fleet was powerful, but small compared to the swarm forces detected around Veltar. Victory would require perfect coordination and a lot of luck. Jump drive activated, came the announcement from the navigation officer. All ships entering hyperspace in 10 seconds. Space twisted around the human fleet as they disappeared into the strange realm between normal space and faster than light. Travel. 800 ships carrying 50,000 humans vanished from Earth's sky. They would emerge 6 months later in a distant star system where legends would be tested against reality. The Deathworlders were coming, but nobody knew if they would arrive in time. 6 months of travel through hyperspace ended with the human fleet dropping back into normal space at the edge of the Veltar system. What they found was worse than their darkest fears. 3 dead worlds hung in space like burned skulls. No lights, no life signs, nothing but empty rock where civilizations had once thrived. Captain Ru Donghain's scout ships arrived first and immediately began sending reports back to the main fleet. His voice carried shock and anger as he described what the sensors were detecting. Admiral, the devastation is complete on the outer planets, Captain Ru reported. No organic matter remains. The surfaces look like they have been scraped clean. Even the oceans are gone. Admiral Yun Jihai felt cold anger building in her chest as she studied the tactical displays. The remaining 2 planets still showed life signs, but they were fading fast. Massive bioships swarmed around them like parasites feeding on dying hosts. The swarm fleet was enormous. Over 10,000 individual bioships filled the space between planets. The smallest were the size of human destroyers. The largest dwarfed anything in the human fleet. They moved in perfect coordination like schools of predatory fish. Contact detected in the asteroid field near the 4th planet, came a report from Lieutenant Kong Minyong at the communications station. Multiple small vessels hiding among the rocks. They appeared to be broadcasting a weak distress signal. Admiral Yun felt her heart speed up. Survivors after 6 months of travel and 3 dead worlds they had finally found living Veltari. Open a communication channel immediately. The main screen flickered and then showed the interior of an alien ship. The Veltari were nothing like humans had imagined. They were tall and graceful with translucent blue skin that seemed to glow with inner light. Large eyes dominated their faces, showing intelligence and desperate hope. Elder Silvani appeared to be the leader of the survivors. Her voice came through the translation system as musical and sad. When she saw the human warships, her eyes grew wide with disbelief. "You came," she whispered. "The Deathworlders actually came. We thought the message had been lost in the void. We thought we would die alone." Admiral Yoon felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. These gentle beings had called across the galaxy for help, and humanity had answered. Now she had to prove that Earth's warriors were worthy of the legends. "We received your distress call, Elder Silvani," Admiral Yoon replied. "Humanity does not abandon those who ask for our protection. Tell me the current situation." Elder Silvani's image wavered as explosions shook her ship. The swarm was still hunting the survivors even as they spoke. "We are all that remains of our people. 47 ships carrying 12,000 souls. The last of a civilization that once numbered in the billions." The tactical situation was overwhelming. Human sensors detected swarm bioships everywhere. Fighter-sized organisms swarmed in clouds of thousands. Cruiser-class creatures moved in hunting packs. The massive carrier organisms hung in space like living moons, spawning new attackers constantly. "The swarm has been feeding on our worlds for 3 months, Elder Silvani continued. "They consume all organic matter and convert it into more of themselves. Every day they grow stronger while we grow weaker." Admiral Yoon studied the enemy formations through her tactical displays. The swarm showed no advanced strategy. They simply overwhelmed their targets with massive numbers. It was exactly the kind of enemy human military doctrine was designed to defeat. "All battle groups prepare for immediate assault," Admiral Yoon announced to her fleet. "We did not travel 47 light-years to fight defensively. We will show them why Earth breeds warriors." The human fleet split into 3 attack formations. Each battle group would hit the swarm from a different angle. The aliens expected organized resistance, but humans fought with controlled chaos. Every ship commander had the authority to adapt and improvise as the battle developed. Battle Group Alpha moved toward the largest concentration of swarm bioships. Admiral Park Jun-ji's dreadnoughts opened fire at maximum range. Antimatter torpedoes streaked across space like falling stars. Each warhead carried enough explosive power to crack a moon. The first impacts were devastating. Swarm bioships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Organic armor that had evolved over millions of years meant nothing against human weapons designed to destroy planets. The aliens had never faced anything like antimatter warheads, but the swarm adapted quickly. Damaged bioships turned toward the human fleet and accelerated. They intended to ram the human vessels and turn every kill into a suicide attack. Evasive maneuvers. Admiral Park ordered his ships, "Use our speed advantage. Stay mobile and keep firing." Battle Group Beta attacked from the fleet's left side. Admiral Song Mikyung's fighters swept through swarm formations like deadly birds. Human pilots had trained for individual combat while the swarm creatures relied on hive mind coordination. The alien fighter organisms moved in perfect formation but could not adapt when human pilots broke their attack patterns. Individual human creativity defeated collective alien intelligence again and again. Captain Otaho commanded the destroyer Relentless Hunter when his ship became surrounded by swarm attackers. Instead of retreating, he ordered his crew to target what appeared to be command nodes on the larger bioships. "All weapons target the neural clusters," Captain O shouted over the noise of battle. "Disrupt their coordination." The strategy worked perfectly. When the command creatures died, entire formations of swarm attackers stopped moving. They floated helplessly in space like cells that had lost connection to their nervous system. Battle Group Gamma provided electronic warfare support from long range. Admiral Ko Sungmin's ships filled space with jamming signals and false targets. The swarm's biological communication systems could not handle the interference. Dr. Jang Yujin monitored the battle from her laboratory ship. Her sensors detected something important about swarm bioships. They all operated on similar electromagnetic frequencies. If those frequencies could be disrupted, the entire enemy fleet might be vulnerable. "Admiral, I have found their weakness," Dr. Jang announced over the fleet communication system. "All swarm creatures use the same neural frequency for coordination. We can weaponize our electronic warfare systems against them." Admiral Ko immediately began modifying his jamming equipment. What had been designed to confuse enemy sensors became a weapon that could shut down swarm nervous systems. Entire groups of bioships suddenly went dead in space. The battle raged across the entire star system. Human ships darted between massive enemy formations, striking hard and disappearing. The swarm tried to use their numbers advantage but could not pin down the fast-moving human vessels. Elder Silvani watched the battle from her hiding place among the asteroids. Her people had called the humans Deathworlders based on ancient legends. Now she understood why. These warriors fought with a skill and ferocity that no peaceful species could match. "They are beautiful," she whispered to her crew as human ships danced through enemy fire, like deadly angels sent to answer our prayers. The tide of battle was turning. Human weapons and tactics were proving superior to swarm numbers and biological technology, but the enemy was preparing their final desperate gambit. The largest bioships began moving toward Admiral Yoon's flagship. The real test was about to begin. The largest swarm bioships moved like living mountains through space toward Admiral Yoon's flagship. Each creature was the size of a human city and covered in weapons that pulsed with organic energy. The hive mind decided to end the battle by destroying the human command structure. Admiral Yoon watched the massive forms approaching on her tactical display. Her ship Eternal Dawn was powerful but tiny compared to the bioships bearing down on her position. Around the bridge, her crew worked with calm efficiency, preparing for the fight of their lives. All weapons target the lead bioship, Admiral Yoon ordered. Show them what human engineering can do. The flagship's main guns opened fire. Plasma cannons that could melt asteroids struck the approaching bioship's organic armor. The creature's hull glowed white-hot where the energy beams hit, but it kept coming. Antimatter torpedoes exploded against its surface, creating brilliant flashes that lit up the entire star system. Still, the massive bioship advanced its return fire-filled space, with streams of acidic projectiles and energy bursts that made the human ship's shields flare and spark. Warning alarms sounded throughout the Eternal Dawn as systems overloaded under the assault. Captain Nam Hoyang commanded the cruiser Swift Justice and saw his admiral's flagship in trouble. Without waiting for orders, he led his ship and 3 others in a desperate charge straight at the massive bioship's flank. "All ships with me," Captain Nam broadcast on the fleet frequency. "We break their formation or die trying." The 4 human ships accelerated to ramming speed directly toward the enormous creature. At the last moment, they opened fire with everything they had. The concentrated firepower punched through the bioship's armor and struck something vital. Inside, the massive creature convulsed and began breaking apart. Biomechanical systems that had grown over centuries failed all at once. The dying bioship crashed into 2 smaller swarm vessels and destroyed them as well. Across the battle zone, similar scenes played out. As human commanders made split-second decisions that saved their comrades, the swarm's hive mind could not match the individual creativity and sacrifice that human warriors showed in desperate moments. Major Wang Ji-1 led the first boarding action against a damaged swarm bioship. Her marines used cutting torches to burn through the creature's organic hull and enter its internal passages. What they found inside was like a nightmare made real. The bioship's corridors pulsed with life, walls that breathed and floors that moved under their feet. Strange growths that might have been weapons or sensory organs lined every surface. The air itself seemed alive with microscopic creatures. "Stay together and watch for movement," Major Wang ordered her troops. "These passages could change shape or try to trap us." The Marines advanced through the alien vessel using tactics developed for fighting in damaged space stations. They moved in pairs, covering each other and setting demolition charges on anything that looked important. Behind them, the immune system began responding to their presence. Organic defenses tried to seal the passages and cut off the human invaders. Strange creatures that looked like mobile plants attacked the Marines with poison thorns and acidic secretions, but human armor and weapons proved superior to biological defenses that had evolved for different kinds of threats. Charges set on what appears to be the central nervous system, Major Wang reported back to the fleet, detonating in 30 seconds. The Marines evacuated the bioship just as their explosives destroyed its brain. The massive creature went limp and began drifting helplessly through space. Other boarding teams repeated the tactic on different bioships with similar results. Dr. Zhang Yujin had been working frantically to weaponize the electromagnetic frequency discovery. Her laboratory ship was protected by Admiral Ko's electronic warfare vessels while she modified their jamming equipment into something much more dangerous. "Admiral Ko, I have the frequency weapon ready," Dr. Zhang announced. "But we need to get within close range of the swarm command structure to make it effective." Admiral Ko studied his tactical display. The largest concentration of swarm surrounded what appeared to be their primary command organism. Getting close enough to use the frequency weapon would mean flying directly into the heart of enemy forces. "All Gamma Group ships follow my lead," Admiral Ko ordered. "We are going to end this war with one decisive strike." The electronic warfare vessels charged straight toward the swarm's center formation. Enemy fire filled space around them, but Admiral Ko's ships had the best defensive systems in the human fleet. They absorbed incredible punishment while closing the distance to their target. At point-blank range, Dr. Zhang activated her frequency weapon. Electromagnetic pulses designed to disrupt swarm neural networks flooded the area around the command organism. The effect was immediate and devastating. Every swarm creature within range simply stopped moving. The hive-mind connection that had coordinated millions of bioships across multiple star systems was severed in an instant. Individual creatures drifted helplessly without the collective intelligence that had given them purpose. The remaining swarm forces throughout the system began shutting down as the neural disruption spread from ship to ship. Bioships that had been fighting ferociously moments before became lifeless, hulks floating in space. Admiral Yoon watched in amazement as the entire enemy fleet went silent. Thousands of bioships that had seemed unstoppable were now drifting. Rex, the battle was over and humanity had won. All ships ceased fire, Admiral Yoon ordered. The swarm is defeated. Elder Silvani's voice came through the communication system filled with wonder and gratitude. You did it. The Deathworlders actually defeated the swarm. Our people are saved. The cost of victory became clear as Admiral Yoon received damage. Reports from her fleet. 17 human ships had been destroyed and over 3,000 crew members had died. But their sacrifice had saved an entire alien civilization from extinction. We came when you called, Admiral Yoon replied to Elder Silvani. That is what legends do. In the days that followed the battle, human ships worked alongside Veltari survivors to search for more refugees hidden throughout the system. They found small groups hiding on asteroids and damaged space stations. 12,000 had become 15,000 as more survivors emerged from hiding. The Veltari shared their advanced biotechnology with humanity in gratitude for their salvation. Organic computers that could grow and heal themselves, medical treatments that could regenerate entire organs, agricultural techniques that could feed billions. Elder Silvani stood on the bridge of Admiral Yoon's flagship as they prepared to leave the Veltar system. The surviving Veltari would come to Earth and build new homes under human protection. We called you legends, Elder Silvani said quietly, but legends are just stories. You are something more. You are hope itself. Admiral Yoon looked out at the stars, knowing that everything had changed. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. They had proven themselves worthy of the legends other species told about them. They were the warriors who answered when others called for help. The journey back to Earth would take months, but it would end with humanity taking its place as protectors of the galaxy. The Deathworlders had earned their reputation and would carry it proudly among the stars. Other species would learn of the Battle of Veltar. They would hear how human warriors crossed the galaxy to save strangers from extinction. When the next distress call came, humanity would be ready to answer. The age of legends had begun.